am a Scranton girl, a Lackawanna County family, meaning my family, my mother's side of the family, were Welsh immigrants that came to Blakely, PA in the 1800s to work the coal mines and then moved to Scranton. And then my father's side of the family came to Waverly through the Underground Railroad from Virginia. And then, of course, with industrialization, came to Scranton to work. So my mother and father, and the term nowadays is biracial. It's, as a kid, I'm black. I identify as a black woman. They met at the Casey Hotel in downtown Scranton. He was a doorman. She worked as a waitress in the restaurant. They met and married. They went to, interestingly enough, and I'm like, Mom, what were you thinking? When they got their marriage license, they actually got on a bus, didn't sit together. Now we're talking the 1940s, okay? They took a bus to Wilkes-Barre and got their marriage license, and then came back to Scranton. It was in the newspaper that a black man was marrying a white woman from Blakely, little snippet of the newspaper. And they were married by the pastor at the time at Bethel AME Church. And there were 5 people at their wedding. My mother would say, yeah, everybody was mad. I guess, I thought my father was very handsome, but I don't think some of the black community appreciated this blonde, blue-eyed white woman coming and taking my father away from them. And of course, her family, the Joneses, pretty much disowned her. Blakely at the time was just a white community. And I can imagine my 18-year-old daughter marrying a black man. And that was shocking to their family, but they all did come around. I grew up at 524 Pine Street. And if you know the area today, 525 Pine Street is the Commonwealth Medical College. And so we were across the street. And a few houses up, we would have been at the intersection of Adams Avenue and Pine Street. But we grew up in that community. That was my address until redevelopment. But I just want to share that community. It was considered the black community primarily, right? We were not segregated. I had white neighbors and white, we lived together, but predominantly black. The interesting thing is, in that community, we were all similar, meaning didn't have a whole lot, but didn't know it. Just didn't know what we didn't have because we had community. We had Eddies, and I'm sure people would keep credit every now and then, not have enough money, and Eddie would, okay, we'll put that $2 on your bill. And I know people did that. Eddie was more than willing to do that. But the other side of Adams Avenue, there was homes. There was a dress shop owned by a Jewish man. My mom worked in that dress shop every now and then around the holidays to earn extra money. And further down in Adams, that was a little bit far for me to go from Pine, was Jack's. And Jack's today would be like a convenience store. It just had a little bit of everything. That was a little bit far for me to go. And now, mind you, I left that community as that community was in the early 70s. Now, I was born in 1960. So my memories of that community go to I was about 10, 11, 12 years old, so far as that was concerned. But I will tell you, that is who I am when I think of that community. The time frame of 1968 was such. Martin Luther King was assassinated, my father passed away, and then you had JFK assassinated. And I remember as a child, 8, 9 years old, and then Malcolm X, there were all these assassinations and death. And I remember as an 8, 9, 10-year-old trying to take that in and concerned, because it seemed like every time you turned around, in that short period of time, people were getting shot for what they believed in. So those of you that know Scranton now don't know the neighborhood that I knew as a young girl, because they had redevelopment. It was called the Scranton Redevelopment Authority, SRA, 3 initials that we really didn't appreciate in our community at all. And so you knew things were happening. You knew there was the potential for our neighborhood to change. And this is early 70s. My mom is a single mom with 3 kids still at home. It was too much for her to even think of home ownership without my dad. And after looking at a few homes, she decided that we were going to live in Midtown. So you had your home for a while, and they started near Vine Street, just tearing down the homes. And the whole destruction just started of the entire neighborhood. And we ended up moving. I understand Midtown Apartments represents affordable housing. I get that. But when you're coming from a home that's been taken from you because of redevelopment, you didn't have a choice to say, I want to stay here. I don't want to use the word inferior, but at the time, that's what it felt like, right? Because I was in home, we were homeowners. And in America, home ownership is a big, big deal. And I felt that was taken away from us. Now, our family situation was such that we were not going to move into home. I am sure there are Black families that live in different parts of Scranton, own homes to this day. That's not the story of my family because of our situation. And when I look at it, I do ask myself the question, why that neighborhood? Like, why those blocks between Vine Street and Pine and, North Washington and why? How was that chosen? There's a lot of neighborhoods that maybe, I thought that neighborhood was flourishing. It had businesses, it had homes, it had community. And I haven't mentioned in that neighborhood, that was the coolest thing, the community centers there. So you had the Catholic Youth Center, the Jewish Community Center, and Progressive Center, all there. All youth that played together, worked together, were community together. And I say, why'd you have to rip that apart? And I'm sure there's someone that's going to say, hey, Cathy, this is why we did it. I would have a tendency to disagree. I work for Lackawanna County now, and right in the city of Scranton. This is the place where I belong, and I am so very comfortable as a Black woman to be here and to be a leader in the community, to be respected by the community, and to be known by the community. I was talking to someone, and at times, people make me feel like I don't belong. And when they kind of give me that feeling, I'm like, son of a gun. My family's been here since the 1800s, maybe longer than their family. How dare you, because of my skin color, want to think I don't belong here? What I do think from time to time, there's fear in what it is that America's going to look like. And unfortunately, way too long, some of that has been white, English speaking, maybe wealthy. They look at Americans a certain way. But I will tell you, and sometimes I feel in the places that I work or some of the community who doesn't embrace change is concerned, what's Scranton going to look like if all these people come in here and ascend to leadership, get their way? And I think that's a concern. But my hope is the generation that is here now gets a better understanding because they're educated. And I said this to someone one time. I said, you know what? I do well in Scranton. I do well. But every now and then it's like, okay, far enough. You're not getting any further than that, sister. And I kind of feel that, they call it a glass ceiling, but every now and then it's like, don't get too far along the way. We've let you do these certain things, but enough. You're good. Stay right there. Don't come over this line. I hope that's less and less. My prayer is always for those that come, the young folks that come after us, will have those opportunities. And because of the struggle that they had, we'll treat people differently. We'll treat people well. That's always my prayer. And I am so encouraged.
Our lives may